everybody. Welcome to this Monday night edition of CPS Victims Hunting for Justice. This show is going to be more or less about how we are seeking for our remedies and what we're looking for to get back the justice that we deserve, because we are victims to this whole fight, and everybody's forgetting about that. Not only are we victims, but so is our kids. Our kids, obviously, first and foremost, they're the most important part of what CPS is doing to us. It's disgusting what they're doing to our kids. And I think that there's just not enough people out in this world that are aware of what's being done to us and our families involved in all of this. So that being said, we're going to get you guys a little bit of education tonight and let you guys hear about what's really going on here. But first and foremost, I got my co-host tonight, it's Miss Candace Edwards. Candace, a small individual with a huge voice. How are we doing tonight, Candy?
I'm doing all right. How's everybody doing?
Well, I hope that a lot of them are here, and I hope that they're all listening and going to get up on this education thing. Candace and I have been doing this for a long time together. Well, Candace and I pretty much got involved with everything, I guess, similarly at the same era, and it was funny because we would go from group to group, and it would be like, who is this person, because you come running into a lot of people. And then so it's been, and we've created a friendship, and we've had some ups and downs and lefts and rights, but we've been together pretty much through our whole cases. And we're starting to get to that point of getting justice, huh, Candace?
That's right, slowly but surely.
Slowly but
It's
surely.
getting there.
Right. It's hard, right? It's hard because, we sit here, we do these things. We're trying to be like, okay, is this right? Is this right? Because we're not lawyers. We don't know what
Not
we're
at all.
right. Not even close. So you don't know if you're doing the right thing, the wrong thing. It feels like the right thing, but people are telling you it's the wrong thing. And it's all just it's a conglomeration. It's a mess. And we're just trying to make our way through it because at the end of the day, all we want is our kids. That's it.
That's right. And a lot of times, like, at the end of the day, like, with us not being, an attorney and actually going to school, for a lot of us parents, who are in the same shoes, we're just pretty much throwing whatever it is at the courtrooms at this time, So, we all try to do the best that we can, and, we expect the worst but hope for the best at the end of the day. So
that's it. Amen to that. Hey, Candace, we have a special guest tonight, Miss Kayla. She came in here with us right here. Hey, Kayla, how are you?
Hi.
Hi, Kayla. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Considering why we were all brought here, right, and talking about what we're talking about. Kayla, just we had the guest that was going to be on tonight was last minute no show, and Kayla, thank you so much for coming on tonight, and I hopefully that this happened for a reason, that God made this happen for a reason. Maybe we'll get some goodness out of this. But that being said, I don't know a lot about you, Kayla. Do you mind giving yourself a little introduction about what's going on with you?
So I've had a CPS going on for about a year now. It's been extremely brutal, and still have not got my kid back.
Okay.
How long's it been?
Yeah.
It's been a year.
It's been a year. What do you mind talking about a little bit of what took place to make all of this nonsense happen?
Yes. So it started back in, I'd say, about January. I was hanging out with somebody I probably shouldn't have been hanging out with, and he put his hands on me. I thought I did the right thing. He was in the car with me. My son was 9 months old at the time and was asleep in the back seat. He had put his hands on me. I took him straight back to his vehicle at my house, dropped my son off with a family member, and went and pressed charges, and he went to jail. I had a caseworker show up to my house and completely used it against me, saying that I was allowing domestic violence in my home, and threw in a safety plan. And during the safety plan, a argument broke out with a family member, without being able to talk to my caseworker, she said that because me and my stepmother at the time got into an argument, my son was in immediate danger, and it occurred on a Saturday. When Monday rolled around, I got a phone call from my caseworker telling me that I was no longer allowed to be around my son, that I was no longer allowed to see my son anymore. I had to my parents' house because when she put the safety plan in place, it required that I was no longer allowed to be around my son unsupervised because this man had put his hands on me. It was a one-time incident. It happened again. Never seen the guy again. So yeah, during the safety plan, I left with my son. She said my son was in immediate danger and told me that the only time I could see my son was at a CPS office from that point on.
Let me ask you this. Did anything happen to your son? Did anything happen to your son that night when you went out and were on this adventure with this man? Did anything happen to him?
No.
Did he get harmed in any way? Did he get hit, slammed, tashed, thrown around? Nope. So, in all honesty, you did a damn fine job in protecting your son from something bad happening when it could have been worse. So you did exactly what you should have. You protected your son. You made sure that he was fine. You removed him from the danger. Life happens to people. We can't, usually you meet someone, or it doesn't even matter. You could know someone for 20 years and they're riding down the road and something tips them off, and you don't know that you're not, no one's ever expecting these outbursts. We wouldn't hang out with people like that, like we're not, So then now that your son's in imminent danger because his mom does the right thing, protects him from the danger that was in his way, like you should have been as a mom, made everything right. You go to the police, you tell the truth, you do everything you're supposed to do, and these bastards still come and take your kid.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Perfect sense.
Unfortunately, it got even worse there. My child's father was not in the picture, had never even met my child. And it was actually another domestic violence. He had kicked me in the stomach when I was 5 months pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
There was a police report. And when it went to court, he popped up and said, "Oh, now I want full custody of my son." He asked for a DNA test just to make sure. It came back, obviously it was his kid, and they placed him with him.
So now your son is with your ex?
Yes.
The one
where
that
does everything stand now?
In the stomach while I was pregnant at the hospital.
I'm not laughing at you. So the person that you were protecting your son from all of these times to be okay, they put your child in the hands of the abuser.
Yep.
Sounds about right. I've heard so many cases. I've heard so many cases, especially here lately, where the parent would be in a domestic dispute or whatever, and they would actually remove themselves out of it. Their children wasn't in any type of harm or anything like that. But yet, these judges, CPS workers, and everything, they put these children in the hands of the abusers, and it doesn't make no sense to me at all. Like none at all. That's not protecting the children.
No, it makes no sense to anybody, right? Like that's absolute nonsense. What have you had the same caseworker this whole time?
So the lady that first showed up to my house putting the safety plan in place saying that I was no longer allowed to be around my son unsupervised.
Oh yeah, that's okay. Yep.
Is not the that I ended with.
Okay. So when they first sorry, I'm trying to find my pen. I get it. When they first came and got your son due to the imminent danger, when they first came there and said your son was in imminent danger because there was an argument between you and your stepmother, did your stepmother call and say that you guys had an issue, or did the police call, or what took place there?
So what had happened was everybody was sick in my home. My aunt wanted to see my son, so I was like, yeah, everybody's sick, you're more than welcome to hang out for a little bit. Right. My stepmom comes out of the house freaking out, screaming as I'm putting my son in my aunt's truck, and calling names, freaking out, and then turns around and jumps on the phone with my caseworker and goes, she's trying to kidnap my son from me.
Oh.
And because I removed my son out of that situation, I broke the safety plan, and she removed my child from me.
And how long did it take for them to get your daughter out of imminent danger? How many days before they come?
So the first assault occurred January 31st, and she did not come until February 16th.
That's good.
Yeah. The argument between me and my stepmom was a Saturday, and she never even showed up. This was all over phone. She never handed me a warrant. She never had anything signed by a judge, nothing. She just told me that I could no longer be around my son no more.
Yeah. Whew. Okay. Wow.
Makes perfect sense.
Right. I mean, I don't even know why you're on this show. I mean, like, wow. So, where
what
are you?
What state are you in?
Your state? Texas.
Okay.
Texas.
I'm Alabama.
So where are you as far as your case goes now? You're at, like, you've been in this for a year, obviously. Are you at a TPR? Are you at prior to? Where are you?
The end of the trial. Apparently, the last time we went to court, CPS dropped out completely. During court, I filed a dismissal, and the judge was like, okay, you can state your side of like what happened. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to come out, because I was representing myself, and plead your case. So I did. In the process of it, my first caseworker, I was like, okay, so, when you came to my house, you told me, hey, this is voluntary. You don't have to sign it. But if you don't, I'm going to take your child out of your home tonight, and I'm going to place him in foster care. And I was like, did you have a warrant? She's like, no. I said, did you have anything signed by a judge? No. And it just kept going. She's like, well, like, it was just crazy. She's like, oh, you threatened me. And she would say what she thought a threat was. And I'm like, okay, so where's the threat in that? Well, it was just offensive. I'm like, okay, well, you're trying to say, you don't want my son placed back with me because I'm mean, I'm hostile, I'm this, I'm that. But you keep saying that I'm doing all these things I'm not doing. Is that not a reason to be hostile?
Right.
You're sitting here lying, trying to make me look bad.
Manipulate, right.
Okay, and then it got to like my second caseworker, and she was like, we don't want your son placed back with you because domestic violence in your current home. And I'm like, well, what was that? Well, you broke a window to get back into your house because you got locked out. And I'm like,
oh, wow.
What do you mean that's domestic violence?
Danger.
Where's domestic violence? Well, you broke a window. I said, that's not domestic violence. Like, I, went out to eat, and I accidentally left my house key inside when I, left. I broke.
Oh, that's an irresponsible parent.
I was like, yeah, like this, probably not the best way to get back into my house, but, whatever. How was that domestic violence? Well, I guess it's not. I just felt like there was a better way you could have got back into your home, or you could have called a locksmith. But I still don't feel like your son's safe to be back with you. And I'm like, how does that make any sense? There's no domestic violence in that, and that's what you're pleading your case on was, and it's just crazy. So
it's crazy when they get their grasps on you, how hard it is to. Well, I'll tell you this: there's a 12% chance, and this is going by their numbers and their mathematics. You have a 12% chance when CPS gets their hooks into your child to get them back. So that's it, and which baffles me how they're even allowed to get this Title IV funding, because that's specifically for reunification. But when you have a statistic that says 12% chance of you getting your child back, how can you flow this money confidently into a system that is clearly not giving back kids?
Absolutely.
the number one thing you have to do in these situations at all costs is keep that kid out of their arms, because once they get them, the game changes. It's no longer about what you did to get there. It's no longer about any of the things before that. Now you're playing their game. You're jumping through their hoops, and you're going by their rules. You know, like you go for a visit, you're 5 minutes late. You live 150 miles away from your visit. You know, like you get an hour. They're 5 minutes late. They're like, oh well, look at, you're late. You can't believe this. And yada yada yada. You know, like you know, we all know this as parents. You're jumping from leaps and bounds trying to get to these things that they expect you to do. Maybe keeping your job, maybe not, losing your job because they want you to go to this counseling and this counseling and this counseling. In the meantime, all of your friends and family have looked at you, shame on you, you're such a bad person, you should listen to the caseworker. And you're sitting there like, what are you talking about? Everybody, I swear, gets a dumb head on. You know, like everybody that's known you for your whole life, they're like, what a terrible person you are. I can't believe that this is you. Because a caseworker wants to lie about you, you know, or they get to go to court and they get to lie on the stand and say all this nonsense about you, and this is okay. It's terrible. And it happens so much. I'm sorry that I cut you off on that little rant, but so what goes on? Now you go in there, what happens next? You're in the courtroom.
So it was like, okay, well, you threatened me. Well, it's not a threat. I felt like it was offensive. Well, there's domestic violence in your home. Well, I guess it's not. I just felt like you could have got back into your house a better way. And then the judge is sitting there, okay, well, did you complete everything? And they're like, oh yeah, you know, it's not a drug case, but we made her take all these drug tests, but she did pass them. Well, did she complete everything you've asked her to? Well, yeah. And it's like, okay, has there been any other incidents? No. Well, she has her other kid full time, has no issues. Y'all don't bother the other child. Like, you know, is there any other reasoning that y'all feel like she shouldn't, y'all like have any concerns? Well, at one of her visits, she gave her son Benadryl because he was sneezing and coughing and had allergies, and the dad didn't like that. And I'm like, okay, how is that an actual concern? Because I was taking care of my child, because
right,
you know. And it's like, okay, the only thing y'all are saying that I did that sounds really bad, y'all are already going back on saying, well, yeah, I guess that's not what that is. And the little things that y'all do come up with that I actually did are, oh, well, she gave him Benadryl. She did, you know, she changed his clothes and didn't put them back in the dad's diaper bag. She put them in her diaper bag, and the dad was upset about it. And it was just stupid little things that they're using to keep my child away from me.
Yep. And what did you see? What did you see happening with the relationship of you and your child as this was going on? Like, what was your visitation like? How did your visitation go from this during this? You know, like from start to where you're at now.
My son was with me every single day for 9 months straight. I was the only parent. I was taking care of him. I mean, he wanted me to hold him all the time, and then you slowly start seeing your kid learn how to walk and doesn't want to be held anymore. And it's like weird because you can tell, like, okay, he's not being held anymore. He's not. And then it's like every time my son goes to leave, it's clenching onto me, screaming, Mama. Oh. And it's, you're trying to tell people, like, you're hurting my child, you're breaking him, like, you're causing damage. And it's like, oh, well, as long as he's not with you, it's okay. Right. We don't care what happens to him. And my son showing up covered in bruises, broken, busted eye, like falling off of a 4-wheeler. And it's like, okay, go into my casework and be like, hey, like, what the heck? Oh, well, he's not getting beaten. It's okay. They're not abusing him. Like, he just fell off a 4-wheeler. It's no big deal. It happens. Okay, well, what about his broken teeth? Oh, it happens. He's a baby. Coming to visits covered in his own, excuse my language, shit, after a 2-hour drive because they didn't clean him properly before sending him with a CPS worker. Oh, it's a baby. It happens. No, That's a
But if
parent's
you did
job
that,
to take care of a child. And it's like,
but if you did that, what would happen?
It's a freaking issue if I did
Right.
it.
Mm-hmm.
I think my son was learning how to walk, and he fell during one of the visits one time, and they tried to cancel my visit because of it.
Because he fell down.
While he was learning how to walk. So he didn't catch his balance yet. He was like barely taking steps, and he fell one time, and they tried to cancel my visits on me.
Wow.
And it's crazy. It's like, okay, he falls one time, you don't want me to see my kid no more, but it's okay for my kid to show up covered in bruises, bloody rashes, infected private parts. I mean,
Jesus.
all sorts of things, and you have no concerns. Like, you're okay with my child being there, and it's wild.
It's almost unbelievable, right? It's almost like you sit there and you're like, wow, you know what? There's just no way on God's earth that this is real. There's no way that this judge, I'm going to get some justice here. There's got to be someone that's able to come in. They're going to step in and they're going to say, this is just a bad dream. There's just no way that so much blatant abuse and neglect and faultiness and lying and all of this stuff can be there and not have this work out in this beautiful, wonderful court system that since a child you've been told that this is the cornerstone of America and this is where our rights and this is where freedom and yada, yada, yada. It's a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
They don't care. You go in there, you've done nothing. Your child, like you said, bruised, beaten, cracked, all of this stuff that you tried so desperately to make sure never happened to that kid, or they never had to see the things that they saw before they went to this new foster home that, who God only knows what the hell they're doing there, and it's all over the place. But no one's listening. No one's helping. No one, I don't know if no one cares. I don't know if they don't want to deal with it, but I just don't understand. Did you have any knowledge of CPS and what they were doing before your child was involved? Like, did you know, like, to the full extent of the corruption and any of that stuff? Because I didn't, and I feel very ashamed that I didn't. And I came into it this way, but because this is just so horrid. But like, once you got here, right? Like, that had to have been how you were thinking, right? Justice is going to come flying out. I can't believe this.
Yeah.
Oh, Candace, you? I mean, is that how you felt about it? I mean, this story is the same. It's just happened so much, and people need to realize that they're not untouchable from the arms of CPS. If they want your kids, they're coming for your kids.
I'm going to tell you, it's like this. With me being a veteran, it doesn't matter what kind of status you have, period. You can be a doctor, you can be an attorney. I personally know an attorney who actually had CPS involved in their home, and that's an attorney. So just because you think you might be, a little bit of a higher class than what most people are, you're not out of the question for CPS to come in and take your children. Because I'm going to tell you right now, it's not about the class. Me personally, I honestly feel like it's got something to do with the bloodlines, but that's a whole different story for a whole different day. But as I was saying, nobody's out of the arms of CPS. They really aren't. They're just there to traffic children. They're not there to protect our families. They're really not. These children are better off with their families being beaten, being raped, being, locked up in a closet or whatever, than they would be better in a stranger's home, period. Point blank. I don't care who you are, what stances you stand on. I've seen too many cases. Too many children have died in the hands of being in foster homes, period.
And if they go there, they shouldn't. That should be it. They should be vetted so well that there's no, this whole thing is, okay, we haven't gotten to the end of your story yet. We don't even know where we're at with you, but let's take a 5-minute break here. Candace is going to go ahead and inform us on this. Well, it's her topic, but me and you are going to step aside for just a couple minutes, and Candace is going to give us some knowledge, the wealth of knowledge of a little portion of the court stuff. So me and Kayla will be right back, and everybody else, here goes my girl Candace.
Hey y'all, so what I have decided to bring to the table this afternoon is a trial de novo, simply because I know myself, I didn't know anything about them here until just here recently. So I thought I would kind of bring that out to you. What a trial de novo is, it's a legal term referring to a new trial or hearing. Just let me put this little disclaimer in here real quick. I'm not an attorney. I am self-studied, so let me make sure that I tell y'all this. You can look all this information up online, and you can find it for yourselves. Anyways, so a trial de novo is a legal term referring to a new trial or a hearing that occurs as if the previous trial had not taken place. This typically happens when an appeal is granted in a case. In such instances, the appellate court may decide that the original trial was flawed in some way, such as errors in the legal procedure, evidentiary issues, or other irregularities that warrant a new trial. Now, during a trial de novo, the case is retried from the beginning as if the original trial never occurred. This means that all evidence, witness testimony, and legal arguments are presented anew, and the judge and jury will make a fresh decision based on the evidence and arguments presented during the new trial. Trial de novo is a way to ensure that parties have a fair opportunity to present their case without being bound by the decisions or errors of the previous trials. It allows for a fresh review of the facts and legal issues involved in the case. Now, a trial de novo can be sought or ordered in various legal contexts, typically after a decision has been made in a lower court or administrative proceeding. Here are some of the common scenarios where a trial de novo may be used. Civil cases. After an unfavorable verdict in a civil case, either party may appeal to a higher court. In some jurisdictions, if the appeal is successful, the higher court may order a trial de novo, essentially starting the case over from the beginning in the appellate court. Criminal cases. In some instances, particularly in cases involving minor offenses or certain types of infractions, a defendant may appeal a decision from the lower court and request a trial de novo in a higher court. Administrative hearings. When an individual or a business challenge decisions made by administrative agencies such as zoning boards, license boards, regulatory bodies, they may have the right to appeal to a higher or court. In some cases, if the appeal is successful, the higher authority may order a trial de novo. Arbitration and alternative dispute. In some arbitration proceedings, if the parties are dissatisfied with appealing the arbitrator's decisions and starting over in a judicial setting. Now, it's important to know of a trial de novo and the specific procedures can vary depending on the jurisdiction and the type of case involved. In many instances, there are specific rules and deadlines for filing appeals and requesting a new trial. So it's essential to consult with a qualified attorney who is familiar with the relevant laws and procedures in your jurisdiction. Now, you can typically request a trial de novo in the following situations. After an favorable verdict, if you're dissatisfied with the outcome of a trial, you can appear to a higher court and request a trial de novo. This allows you to present your case again from the beginning, often with a different judges or a new jury. Errors in legal procedure. If errors occurred during the original trial that you believe affected the fairness of the proceedings or the outcome of the case, you may request a trial de novo to rectify those errors. New evidence. If new evidence emerges that was not available or presented during the original trial, you may request a new trial to induce this evidence and potentially change the outcome. Misapplication of law. If you believe that the law was misapplied or misinterpreted during the original trial, you may seek a trial de novo to have the case reheard with a fresh legal analysis. Violation of rights. If you believe that your constitutional rights were violated during the original trial, such as the right to a fair trial or the right to due process, you may seek a new trial to address these concerns. It's important to know that the availability of the trial de novo and the procedures for requesting one can vary depending on the jurisdiction and the type of case involved. Additionally, there are typical deadlines and requirements for filing an appeal and requesting a new trial, so it's crucial to consult with a qualified attorney who can advise you on specific rules and procedures applicable to your situation. Now, you can use a trial de novo on CPS cases. In some jurisdictions, a trial de novo may be available for child protective services cases, but it depends on the specific laws and the procedures of the jurisdiction where the case is being heard. Cases involve allegations of abuse, neglect, or dependency of children, and they often go through a series of administrative and legal proceedings to determine the best interest of the child involved. These cases may involve hearings before administrative agencies, juvenile courts, or family courts, depending on the jurisdiction. If a party involved in a CPS case disagrees with the outcome of a hearing or decisions, they may have the right to appeal to a higher court or request a review of the case. In some situations, this can involve seeking a trial de novo, where the case is retried from the beginning in the appellate court or higher court level. However, the availability of the trial de novo and the procedures for requesting one in CPS cases can vary widely depending on the laws and regulations of the jurisdiction involved. Additionally, CPS cases often involve complex legal and procedural issues, so it's essential to consult with a qualified attorney who is familiar with the laws and procedures governing CPS cases in your jurisdiction. If you're considering seeking a trial de novo or appealing a decision in a CPS case. Now, the statutes of limitations for a trial de novo can vary significantly depending on jurisdiction and the type of case involved. In many jurisdictions, the statutes of limitations for filing an appeal or requesting a trial de novo is governed by specific rules and deadlines established by law. In some cases, the deadlines for filing an appeal or requesting a trial de novo may be relatively short, often measured in days or weeks from the day or original judgment or decision. In other cases, the deadline may be longer, especially for more complex or serious cases. It's important to note that missing the deadline for filing an appeal or requesting a trial de novo can have serious consequences, as it may result in the loss of the right to challenge the original decision or judgment. Therefore, it's essential to consult with a qualified attorney as soon as possible if you're considering filing an appeal or requesting a trial de novo in your case. Your attorney can provide you with the specific guidance on the applicable statute of limitations and ensuring that all necessary paperwork is filed within the required time frame to preserve and options for an appeal. Now, the stipulations surrounding the use of a trial de novo can vary depending on the jurisdictions and the type of cases involved. However, there are several general principles and considerations to keep in mind. Grounds for an appeal: typically to request a trial de novo, there must be grounds for an appeal. This could include errors in legal procedure, misapplication of the law, admission of improper evidence, or the other procedural irregularities that may have affected the outcome of the original trial. Filing deadlines: there are usually strict deadlines for filing an appeal and requesting a trial de novo. These deadlines are set by law and may vary depending on the type of case involved. It's crucial to be aware and adhere to the deadlines to preserve your right to appeal. Notice requirements: in many jurisdictions, you may provide notice to the opposing party and the court when filing an appeal or requesting a trial de novo. This notice requirement ensures that all parties involved in the cases are aware of the appeal and have an opportunity to respond. Standard of review: during the trial de novo, the appellate courts or higher court will typically case without differences to the findings of the lower court. This means that the appellate court will reconsider the evidence, legal arguments, and issues presented in the case as if it was being heard for the first time. Scope of review: the scope of review during a trial de novo may vary depending on the jurisdiction and the type of cases involved. In some cases, the appellate court may consider only the issues raised on appeal, while in others, it may have broad discretion to review the entire case. Deposition of the case: after conducting a trial de novo, the appellate court or higher court may issue a new judgment or decision based on the evidence and arguments presented during the new trial. The court may affirm, reverse, modify, or remand the case back to the lower court for further proceedings. It is essential to consult with a qualified attorney who is familiar with the laws and procedures governing the appeals and trials de novo in your jurisdiction. An experienced attorney can help you understand your rights, evaluate your options, and navigate the appeals process effectively. Now, as far as a few examples of some case laws, criminal appeals: in criminal cases, defendants may appeal convictions on higher court if the appeal and success in the higher court may order a trial de novo. One famous example in the case of Mapp versus Ohio, 1961, where the Supreme Court ruled the evidence obtained in violation of the Fourth Amendment must be excluded from trial. This decision essentially ordered a new trial for Dalray Mapp due to the unlawfully obtained evidence. As far as family goes, in divorce or child custody cases, parties dissatisfied with the outcome of trial court may appeal the decision. If successful, they may be granted a trial de novo in the appellate court. However, the standards for granting a trial de novo in family law cases can vary widely by jurisdiction. In administrative law cases, individuals or businesses may appeal decisions made by administrative agencies to higher courts. If the appeal is successful, the higher court may order a trial de novo, allowing for a fresh review of the case. An example could be a zoning board decision that was successfully appealed due to the procedure errors. These are just a few examples, and the use of trial de novo can vary depending on the jurisdiction and the specific circumstances of the case. Legal procedures and case law regarding trial de novo continue to evolve as courts interpret and apply the law to new situations. For most accurate and up-to-date information on case law related to trial de novo, it's best to consult legal databases or seek guidance from a legal professional familiar with the relevant jurisdiction and areas of law. Appeals of dependency and neglect determinations in CPS cases. Trial de novos may be relevant when the parties appeal determinations for dependencies or neglect made by the juvenile or family court. If a party disagrees with the findings of rulings made by the lower court, they may seek a review by a higher court, potentially leading to a trial de novo if the appeal is successful. Review of termination of parental rights, which is TPR decisions. In cases where parental rights are terminated by the court, parties may appeal these decisions if the appellate court finds errors in the proceedings or disagrees with the lower court's decision. It may order a trial de novo and re-examine the case and make a fresh determination regarding determination of parental rights. Challenges to CPS investigations and removals. When CPS removes or initiates an investigation into allegations or neglect, parties may challenge these actions in court. If the court upholds actions and a party appeals, the appellate court may trial de novo to reconsider the evidence and legal arguments presented in the case. And it's important to note that the use of trial de novo in CPS cases can vary depending on the specific facts and circumstances of each case. Additionally, case law surrounding CPS case trial de novo may evolve over time and interpretations. For the most accurate and up-to-date information on case law related to trial de novo and CPS cases, it is advisable to consult legal databases, review relevant appellate court decisions, or seek guidance from legal professionals familiar with the laws and procedures governing CPS cases jurisdiction. Now, how do you use trial de novo on a CPS board order trial de novo? If you believe that a Child Protective Services CPS order is void and you wish to seek a trial de novo, you typically need to follow specific legal procedures within the jurisdiction where the case is being heard. Here's a general outline of the steps that you might take. Number one is to understand the basis for the void order. Determine why you believe the CPS order is void. Void orders typically arise from serious defects in the legal process, such as a lack of jurisdiction, violation of due process rights, or other fundamental errors in that render the order invalid from its inception. Consult with an attorney. It is crucial to seek the legal advice from an attorney who is experienced in CPS cases and appellate procedures. An attorney can assess the circumstances of your case, determine the validity of the claim that the order is void, and advise you on the best course of action. File a motion or petition. Your attorney may file a motion petition with the appropriate court seeking the relief from the void order. The specific procedures for filing a motion or petition will depend on the rules and requirements of the jurisdiction where the case is being heard. Argue grounds for void order. In your motion or petition, you will need to clearly articulate the grounds for why The CPS order is void and involves citing relevant legal authorities, presenting evidence or legal arguments, and explaining how the defects in the order warrant relief. Request a trial de novo. If the court determines that the CPS order is void or invalid, you may request a trial de novo. This essentially means that the case will be retried from the beginning as if the original trial never occurred. During the trial de novo, you will have the opportunity to present your case anew and challenge the allegations or findings made by CPS. Prepare for trial. If the court grants your request for a trial de novo, you and your attorney should prepare thoroughly for the new trial. This may involve gathering evidence, identifying witnesses, developing legal arguments, and ensuring that all procedure requirements are met. Attend the trial. Attend the trial de novo as scheduled and participate fully in the proceedings. Present your case, cross-examine witnesses, and make legal arguments to support your position. Await the court's decision. After the trial de novo, the court will issue a new judgment or order based on the evidence and arguments presented during the trial. Be prepared to accept the court's decision, or, if necessary, explore further legal options such as appealing the decision to a higher court. It is important to remember that the specific procedures and requirements for seeking relief from a void CPS order and requesting a trial de novo can vary depending on the jurisdiction and the laws governing CPS cases in your area. Working with an experienced attorney will help ensure that you navigate the legal process effectively and protect your rights and interests. A void order typically arises from a fundamental defect in the legal process, such as lack of jurisdiction or the violation of due process rights. Void orders are essentially considered invalid from the inception and can be challenged and set aside through legal proceedings or motions. On the other hand, a trial de novo refers to a new trial or hearing held as if previous trial had not taken place. It's typically ordered by a higher court after an appeal has been granted, and it allows a fresh review of the case, including presenting new evidence and arguments. While there might be instances where a void order is overturned and a trial de novo is ordered, they are not necessarily interdependent or directly related in all cases. The specific circumstances of each legal matter, including the jurisdiction and the laws involved, greatly influence how these concepts interact. As such, providing specific case laws where void orders were addressed through the trial de novo may not be straightforward, as the circumstances surrounding the void orders and trial de novo can vary widely across different legal contexts and jurisdictions. If you believe you are dealing with a void order or are seeking a trial de novo, it's crucial to consult with a qualified attorney who can evaluate your situation, advise you on the applicable laws and the procedures, and help you navigate the legal process effectively. Let's see. I can provide you with a general understanding of how trial de novo might be used in the context of family CPS cases. Appeals of dependency determinations in cases where a child has been found dependent by the court due to abuse, neglect, or other reasons. Parties involved may appeal the court's decision. If the appeal is successful, the appellate court may order a trial de novo, allowing a fresh examination of the evidence and legal arguments. Termination of parental rights appeals. When parental rights are terminated by the court, parties may appeal the decision if they believe there were errors in the proceedings or terminations was not justified. If the appellate court may order a trial de novo to reconsider the case. Challenges to placement decisions. In cases where CPS has placed a child in foster care or with another caregiver, parties may challenge these placement decisions in court. If the court upholds the placement and the party appeals, a trial de novo may be ordered to review the evidence. While I can't provide specific case laws, you may find relevant legal proceedings by researching appellate court decisions in your jurisdiction related to family laws, CPS cases, and trial de novo. It's also advisable to consult with a qualified attorney who can evaluate your specific situations and provide guidance based on the laws and procedures applicable to your case. As far as appeals of TPR decisions, If a parent or a legal guardian disagrees with the decisions to terminate their parental rights made by the juvenile or family court, they may appeal the decision to a higher court. If the appeal is successful, the appellate court may order a trial de novo, allowing a fresh review of the evidence and legal arguments. Grounds for TPR appeals. Appeals in TPR cases often involve arguments related to due process violations, errors in the application of the law, or insufficient evidence to support the termination of parental rights. If the appellate court finds merit in the appeal, or it may order a trial de novo to reconsider the case. Scope of the review in trial de novos. During a trial de novo in a CPS TPR case, the appellate court will typically review the case without deference to the findings of the lower court. This means that the appellate court will reconsider the evidence, legal arguments, and issuance presented in the case as if it was being heard for the first time. Deposition of the case. After conducting a trial de novo in a CPS TPR case, the appellate court may issue a new judgment or decision based on the evidence and arguments presented during the new trial. The court may affirm, reverse, modify, or remand the case back to the lower court for further proceedings. Child custody and visitation. The case involving child custody and visitation rights, parties may appeal decisions made by the lower courts if they believe errors were made in the original proceedings. If the appeal is successful, a trial de novo may be ordered, allowing for a fresh review of the evidence and legal arguments related to custody and visitation. Divorce and property division. If the divorces where there are disputes over the division of marital property or assets properties, may appeal decisions made by the divorce court. If the appellate court finds errors and irregularities in the original proceedings, it may order trial de novo to reevaluate the divisions of property and assets. Spousal support and alimony. Disputes over spousal support and alimony awards may also lead to appeals and requests for trial de novo. If the appellate court determines that the original award was improper or unjustified, it may order a trial de novo to reconsider the amount and duration of the spousal support. Paternity and parentage. In cases involving paternity disputes or establishment of parentage, parties may appeal decisions relating to paternity testing, child support, and parental rights. If the appellate determines that the original decision was incorrect or incomplete, it may order a trial de novo to address these issues. In cases where the termination of parental rights is parties may appeal decisions made by lower courts if they believe errors were made in proceedings. If the appeal is successful, a trial de novo may be ordered, allowing a fresh review of the evidence and the legal arguments related to the termination of parental rights. General considerations regarding TPR cases and trial de novo. Grounds for appeal. Appellate courts may review TPR to ensure that the lower courts follow by procedures and apply the law correctly. Grounds for may include procedure errors, violation of due process rights, or failure to consider relevant evidence. Scope of review during the trial de novo in a TPR case. The appellate court typically reviews the evidence and legal arguments without differences to the findings of the lower court. This means that the appellate court may reevaluate the case independently and reach its own conclusion based on the evidence presented. Deposition of the case. After conducting a trial de novo in a TPR case, the appellate court may issue a new judgment or decision based on the evidence and arguments presented during the new trial. The court may affirm, reverse, modify, or remand the case back to the lower court for further proceedings. Now, as far as family law, the use of trial de novo typically arises in situations where parties appeal decisions made by lower courts. Here are some general areas of family law where trial de novo may be utilized. Child custody and visitations. Appeals regarding child custody and visitation orders are commonly in family law. If one party disagrees with the custody arrangement or the visitation schedule ordered by the lower court, they may appeal that decision. If the appeal is successful, a trial de novo may be ordered, allowing for a fresh examination of the evidence and the legal arguments related to custody and visitation. Property division and divorce disputes over the division of marital property or assets in divorce cases may lead to appeals if the appellate courts find errors in irregularities in the original property division order. It may order a trial de novo to reevaluate the distribution of assets and liabilities between the spouses. Spousal support and alimony appeals regarding the spousal support or alimony awards are another area where a trial de novo may be used. Now, you got the domestic violence protection orders and cases involving domestic violence protection orders. Parties may appeal decisions made by lower courts if they believe errors were made in the original proceedings. If the appeal is successful, a trial de novo may be ordered, allowing for a fresh review of the evidence and the legal arguments related to protection orders. Let's see, what else we got? Here's some general considerations regarding a trial de novo in TPR cases. Grounds for appeal. Appellate courts may review TPR cases to ensure that the lower courts followed proper procedures, applied the law correctly, and considered that all relevant evidence. Grounds for appeal may include errors in the application of the law, proceeding irregularities, or failure to consider important factors relevant to the determination's decision. Due process concerns. Appellate courts may closely scrutinize TPR proceedings to ensure that parents' due process rights are protected throughout the process. This includes ensuring that parents have adequate notice of the proceedings, the opportunity to be heard, and the right to present evidence and witness on their behalf. Best interest of the child. While the best interests of the child are paramount in TPR cases, appellate courts may review whether the lower court properly consider all relevant factors in determining the child's best interest. This may include assessing the evidence regarding the parent-child relationship, the parents' ability to provide for the child's needs, and any potential risk to the child's well-being. During the trial de novo in a TPR case, the appellate court typically reviews the evidence and legal arguments independently without deference to the findings of the lower court. This allows the appellate court to reach its own conclusions based on the evidence presented. After conducting a trial de novo in a TPR case, the appellate court may issue a new judgment or decision based on the evidence and arguments presented during the new trial. The court may affirm, reverse, modify, or remand the case back to the lower court for further proceedings. Let's see. Think that's about it. I mean, there's a little bit more about trial de novo. Just, like I said, make sure y'all do, your due diligence. When you're looking this up, speak to an attorney, and just make sure that it's honestly right for your case.
Candace, that was freaking amazing. Like, I just got probably some college kids paid $50,000 for what you just told everybody in those 15 minutes. So. That was great. Kayla, you learned a lot right there, right? You fully engulfed in the trial de novo. That was awesome, Candace. And let me tell you guys something. I asked Candace about an hour and a half ago to put in that, to do something like that for me, and she whipped that up. So that was just awesome. And so I'm thankful for her and thankful for that. So trial de novo is the way to go if you can get there and get qualified, because you get a fresh start, right? Is that pretty much the way that this wraps up? You can be qualified, you can start over, introduce new evidence, which is huge, because that's not typical in your appeals or any of those things. You're not allowed to enter new evidence in any sort of case hearings. You've got to go by what's been read. It pretty much kind of it's like this. You navigate yourself to the district court, to your TPR hearing, and then from that point forward, there's nothing else that can come out. So a trial de novo is perfect if your attorneys forgot something, if they weren't able to get something in that you were supposed to have, because again, in the appeals area, it's a very special situation to actually get to insert new information. So,
honestly, Darren, a trial de novo would actually be the step right below an appeal. Like, I would do a trial de novo before you do an appeal.
Okay. Well, that gives you the opportunity to bring new information that you normally would not have, right? All right, guys, we're back here with our guests here, Kayla, and back in our green room there, we've got Officer Herbert Petty. If we have him, we're going to start using him. He's on call with us. If we have any legal questions regarding the police department and the routines and everything that the police have and what they do with their procedures. We got Herb Petty back there waiting to answer some questions, which, you know what, I'm going to bring him out for a second. Hey, Herbert, how we doing tonight, buddy?
Good. How you doing, Darren?
Good. Hey, I don't know if you heard Kayla's story, but her story involves a bunch about her. She was in the car with her child, and a gentleman that was in there started having an incident with her. Kayla, I'll let you tell him, and then maybe you can tell us what you think about the whole domestic violence.
I heard her whole story.
You heard it? So what do you think about that madness, that CPS?
Yeah, and I heard how they gave up her child to the person that was abusing her.
Yeah, what say you about that, Herbert? A man of the law, like what's your thoughts on this?
I gotta know more about the story. I only heard what I heard from her, and there's got to be a little more to that story, because I don't understand why they would give the child to the person that abused her.
Right. Well, that's just it. That's the whole thing with CPS, and that's what we're trying to. So Herbert is new to this whole CPS world, and his cousin.
Oh boy.
Yeah, his cousin and I have been telling him, like he was involved in these procedures, and his standard procedure was to call CPS if there was ever an issue. That would be it. Come get the kid. He didn't realize the trafficking, the lying, and all of these things that had gone on with what goes on that involves these kids and what they do with them and what they do to the parents and how they lie and they get away with that. I mean, Kayla, what happened with your caseworker at the end of your caseworker when you got the new caseworker? What took place there?
It switched to a conservatorship. Is why I got my the last caseworker I had. After my case, the last trial, I had an investigator reach out to me, asking me some questions, and heard that I had some recordings from court where my caseworker was on the stand line. She had let me know that my caseworker was already on a 3 to 6 month, what she called a consequence for her misconduct throughout the beginning of my case. So I don't know if she's currently still working for them or fired, but I had turned over all the recordings I had. And so that's where I ended that at. And the last thing I heard on my case was that, everything was supposed to be in court order, and it was going on 3 weeks ago, but the judge has still refused to sign anything. And I'm thinking it's because, he's trying to hold off signing anything so I run out my time. But it's been about 3 weeks now, and he still will not sign my court order. So I can.
So what did the TPR order come out to? Was it a TPR order that you went to trial for?
So CPS wanted to drop out of the case. They said they were going to give the dad pretty much full custody of my child.
Okay.
It came out pretty bad. I currently am only allowed to see my son one time a month now, supervised. Yeah. So
supervised.
Yeah, and
okay. Hold up. Whoa. Okay, so that they have certain guidelines that, you're supposed to get at least 8 hours a month with your child. Are you getting a full 8 hours from that one visit, or?
My last court date was January 23rd. I have not seen my son before court.
Wow.
I have no idea. When I try to ask what's going on, my caseworker will not talk to me no more. Since that court hearing, the dad will not give me any. I keep getting told you'll receive papers, and that's been going on for about 2 to 3 weeks. And I haven't heard anything. I have no information.
Wow. So you're just kind of sitting in limbo.
Do you know where this child is? Do you know, the foster parents? Okay,
She's with her
you
father.
need to do a welfare check.
Why do you say
If
that?
I was you, being a mother, I would child's okay or not. That's my personal opinion.
Is many bad things as I've seen my son coming back looking like I'd absolutely agree. I get pictures from him, but that's about it.
Wow, I can't
He
believe.
was-
But there's
Any updates, anything.
what is so the order that you're waiting for the judge to sign? What does this say?
It says that I see my son one time a month. I have to drive now 2 hours to see my son. I have to pay somebody to supervise my visit. I pay child support. I have to pay to reimburse the dad for health insurance, but I cannot carry my child on health insurance. I just have to pay dad back every time he pays for health insurance. Like, it makes no sense to me.
All because you protected your child in an incident that happened that you were involved in. Herbert, this is it, man. Like, this is CPS, man. This is what they do. They took a perfectly loving mom, probably clearly from what I've gathered from just seeing her here. I'm no police officer like you, but I mean, this woman seems to be a loving, caring mom that did the right thing when she was in a bad situation. And now they've completely destroyed her life.
Who calls CPS on you?
You're not going to believe me. There was no CPS call. She showed up to my house and told me that she had papers for me to sign, that they were voluntary, but if I did not sign, she was going to take my child out of my home that night and place my son in foster care.
So the police department must have contacted them.
Okay, like Darren, right? like Darren said, I'm rather new to this, yes, but I've been listening very carefully. And there's a lot of things that I've learned from listening to his shows. And one thing is, CPS doesn't wake up in the morning and say, gee, we're going to go to her house and take her baby. So somebody made a phone call, some kind of complaint.
Well, I know that my daughter's dad, when he did not get his way, it was calling CPS 24/7.
Well,
no
there
matter.
you go, right? So
that
he heard.
Okay,
so he must have heard.
So when he didn't get
right.
Yeah. So when he didn't get his way, then he was calling CPS. But with your other child, you have two children, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And your other child, somebody had a call.
From what I know,
and they came to you.
There was no call about any domestic violence. What I was aware of was that my daughter's dad called CPS on me, saying that I had left my child home alone, unattended.
Yeah.
Oh, your daughter called CPS?
No, my daughter's dad.
Daughter's dad.
Okay. So when CPS,
jealous fathers or mad fathers trying to get back at you, pretty much is what's going on here.
Right. Now, when CPS arrived, were they by themselves?
No.
They were escorted.
Did they have the police or sheriff with them?
I'm sorry, what?
Did they have the police or the sheriff department with them?
Yes, they did.
Okay. And the police and the sheriff department didn't say anything. Am I correct? Right. And then CPS showed you some papers. Was that drafted up by the courts?
No.
Who was it drafted up by?
Just CPS. She had no warrant. She had no nothing when she offered me the safety.
Okay. So, did you invite them in your house?
Mistakenly, yes.
That was the mistake.
Yes.
No, that was it.
Yeah.
That was it, right there.
Yeah.
You should have stayed right there. You should have. When they came to your door, rang the doorbell. You should open your door and walk outside, close your door back, and say, "How can I help you?"
Yeah.
Then how do we? This is the problem, and maybe you can help with this, Kayla, since you've experienced this. How do we get this across? Because you didn't know, I didn't know. Same thing. Candace is. How do we get it out to people just to at least know that little piece? Because that little piece could save someone that's sweet, nice like you out of this entire situation?
Darren,
one
let me.
that I learned on anything: do not sign anything. As soon as you sign any form, any paper, anything, you are signing a contract with CPS. They're
Right there.
There's
Right
no
there. Absolutely. That's 100%.
I agree.
But what I'm saying is,
I agree with
how do we stop them? How do you get people to be educated enough to know not allow them to have that first step?
I don't think you'll ever be educated enough until you're in this situation yourself. I've learned a lot because of this case. Things that I don't.
Also, Darren, folks need to realize too that CPS is not a government agency. Everybody honestly really needs to realize that the United States is not even a government. At this point in moment, our quote unquote president is a CEO of a business. Therefore, our police departments, they're not even government agencies. They are just a for-profit organization.
Right. They're just it's all about the money. Let's just get that
Yeah.
right. But what I'm talking about is this. How do we get people to understand that they don't have authority to just come into your home, grab your kids, and leave? Because we're also freaking scared when they come and do this. You know, I used to say the same thing. Anybody ever tries to come and take my kid, I'll, blah, 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 blah. But then that day comes and they come with 3 black and whites and this, that, and this, and you're pretty much like, sorry, you know what I mean? Like you don't know what to do. You don't know what to think. The lawyer that you any advice is worth the crap, So like, if I would have known, hands down, that's voluntary and all of this stuff, and like if I would have known half of even a quarter of what I know now, I would be sitting here with my daughter doing this show, but I probably wouldn't be doing this show. So, maybe this happened for a reason, maybe it didn't. I don't know, but we need to figure out how to get this out there. And get it to people that, even if it's just a simple bit of, don't let CPS in your door. Even if it's just that little bit, that could have saved you how much?
A lot.
You know what? Maybe we need to start printing out some flyers and start putting them, at the go. Putting, don't let these folks in your home, because a lot of people, everybody thinks that they're a government agency. Everybody thinks that they have the right to come to your home and take your children, and they don't. They really don't. Everybody that I've been dealing with here recently, I've had about 3 or 4 parents per month that, said, hey, look, I'm worried about, CPS, and I have to straight up tell them, look, ignore them. You don't have to give them, don't have to do nothing for them. They ain't nobody but just a business, like your gas station, whatever. Like and like everybody that I have literally have told them that they just completely shut them out of the home.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, guys, we are.
But to answer the question about how do we get people to know about CPS? Well, first of all, it's that's a loaded question.
Right.
When you mention about putting posters up at gas stations and stuff like that, you're on the right track, because the people, it's like in criminal activities, nobody knows anything about the law and the rights and everything else unless they fall into it.
Right. And then it's too late.
Like, I think Darren understands. I shared something with Darren that when you hear about the Miranda has to be read. You didn't know that.
Right.
Ladies, you did not know that. You thought that a police officer could just recite the Miranda to you, and that's legal. It's not. He has to read it off of something. He has to read the Miranda, or else everything you say cannot be held against you.
So that's
people don't know that.
So the Miranda rights are actually still in effect, because my understanding, what I got told down here from Randolph County, from where my whole case even started in the beginning with, I asked about my Miranda rights, and they didn't tell me my Miranda rights until I got into the investigations room. They said that they don't have to read those no more.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna give you another part of that too, Police officers do not have to read you your Miranda as long as they're not going to interrogate you.
So if they're gonna,
So you are correct.
right.
When you got into the interrogation room, they read you your Miranda. Am I correct?
Correct.
Good. Now here's the question. Did they read you your Miranda, or did they just recite to you your Miranda?
Oh, they gave me a piece of paper.
No. They're supposed to read you your Miranda.
Oh, that's crazy. I'm gonna write that one down for my book.
They give you a piece of paper. You can easily say, I can't see that. I don't have my glasses.
True.
Oh.
They're supposed to read it off of a piece of paper, off of a card. They're supposed to read it to you.
Wow.
Not recite it like you see on television and Hollywood movies.
See, I got
Wow.
told that they don't, the Miranda rights don't even stand anymore. Like, they don't even have to cite them off to you or anything. And, like, you know, here's my thing. Like, okay, so you get pulled over by the police. They're interrogating you right then and there. So don't you all have the right to, like, you're being interrogated. So,
No, when a police officer pulls you over, he says, ma'am, I'm pulling you over for whatever reason. If he doesn't tell you the reason right away, he's going to say, may I see your license, registration, and your insurance card? That's not an interrogation.
Right. No, you know, the whole thing.
Interrogation.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Herbert.
No, I'm going to tell you what interrogation is. Interrogation is you broke into the candy store and you stole a pack of cigarettes and then you went out. Now, they're asking you, how did you break into the candy store? Was there anybody else with you in the candy store? What else did you steal from the candy store? That's an interrogation. But
well,
after you broke into the candy,
when you get pulled over sometimes,
after you broke into the,
like, I've been known, like, where
go ahead.
when you get pulled over sometimes, like, police officers will literally ask you, where are you going? Where did you just come from? What do you do out so late? That's interrogation.
You could tell them. You could say, you could tell them I'm going home. I'm going to my boyfriend's house. What are you doing out so late? I'm out late because of this and because of that. That's not going to affect you.
My smart mouth would say it's none of your business.
That's
Actually, those questions, those questions he's asking you, basically is being nosy because why am I being pulled over, officer? That's your question. Please, could you tell? I'll answer your question. See, this is how you do it. I'll answer your questions, but then I have a question. Why are you pulling me over?
right.
I just can't pull a car over because I just feel like pulling a car over.
Okay, so
Right.
let me ask you a question. What if,
But,
okay,
hold on, but this all lines into the same thing. CPS can't just come and take our kids because they want to take our kids, but they do.
That's correct. And the CPS going to take the kids, from what you guys taught me, they got to have a court order.
Right, but they don't most of the time. And they're supposed to have...
No, they have to have a court order.
You know?
They have to have a court order to come and take the child.
Right.
If they just come because of a complaint and say, I'm taking the child, no, they're not.
This is the thing, is that we are all so used to taking the official person or whatever, and we're so afraid of either being in trouble or whatever that we just go ahead and instantly hand them our child because they come with the police with intimidation, because they use other aspects, they use threats, they use coercion, they use all kinds of things, and this is what we get at. Guys,
That's right.
yeah, so this is it.
And
That's does.
And that's all they're using the police for is intimidation.
Right.
Because like I asked you before, did the police say anything? You said nope.
Because they can't. They're not
When the
supposed
police-
to, right? Guys, we're way past
The police there's nothing for the reason why the police is there is just in case there's a confrontation. That's all.
Well, so they'll say.
well, I mean, just
No, I'm telling you.
expectantly, you would think that there would be protection because these people are literally coming to kidnap our children. That's exactly
Right.
what they're doing. They're kidnapping our children right out, literally out from underneath us. And a lot of us are so shocked at what's going on at the time. We don't, we don't think fast enough. Like, we freeze up at the moment.
I know, but see, like you said before, you got to get something out to the people to understand
Yep.
that no, when CPS comes, go outside and talk to them.
Right. That's something that we need to definitely work on. But this time I'm really going to say it, guys. We are way past our time. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. It was awesome. Kayla, thank you for sharing your story. I want you to stay in touch with us because we want to definitely hear which way this goes. If there's anything that we can do to help, you know how to get in touch with us. I don't know what we can. We can keep talking about it. Herbert, thank you so much for coming in and being that man. You'll be here every day with us. That's Herbert the Law Guy. I think Herbert, what are we going to call you? We need to come up with a nickname.
Yeah, just call me. Just call me Herbert, the law guy, whatever. I'm a retired New York State police officer.
Right, Herbert.
I need to talk to him.
Yes, you do, Candace.
I've got
Kayla,
some
you have any
serious
last words
questions.
you want to spit out? Do you have any last words you want to spit out, Kayla, before you get out of here?
Do not talk to CPS. You will aid them in their investigation without you knowing. Do not let them into your house without a warrant or anything signed by a judge.
That's correct. You got it.
Best advice I've heard tonight. Candace, you got anything?
That's it, Candace.
I don't, but I need to link up with Herbert over there.
Yeah,
so if he can connect us.
I'll make sure that I
Sure.
all together. All right, guys.
You could Darren, you could give her my phone number when you want.
All right, I will.
If you have contact.
I will do that.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much. We will catch you all tomorrow night, Tuesday night, 8:00 Eastern time, whatever other time with the math degradations. That's where we'll be. But everybody, thank you so much. We will continue this thing tomorrow night. I just want everybody to realize what Kayla was saying, what everybody was saying tonight is so important. Do not let these people into your house. They don't have a warrant. They don't have a reason to be there. You have rights. You are an American citizen. You you defend your children with all that you can, because once they get them, you have a 12% chance of getting them back. And it's not an easy feat. You go through so much. That it just destroys your integrity. It destroys your inside. It's a painful fight, but your kids are definitely worth it. But the outcome isn't what you need. Also, check out abolishcps.com. That's our website. That's where you can find a whole bunch of information that we talk about on the show. That's where you can find, there's chat rooms, there's news, there's other YouTube places that are playing. Their shows are on there as well. Their podcasts. Check out my podcast also. That's Our Daughter. It's on Spotify. It's on Google. It's on a bunch of those streams. Everything else that you need to find CPS is getting there. Take it easy on the content stuff because we're just getting it going. Candace has a section on there. I think we should get Herbert. We got to come up with a cool nickname for Herbert to get in here. But I think we should have a little section for him. It's got places. It's got a wall of shame. It's got my Abolish CPS bill is on there. It's got apparel like this one, this shirt that you see here. It also has a donation section because you know what? This is great that we do what we do, but a lot of these things that we have to do cost money. And if you guys can help in any way with that, that would be great. Go ahead and support this show. Click this QR code right here. That will bring you right to it. And also at abolishcps.com, that has the link for it as well. That all being said, thank you guys for hanging around. Thank you for watching it if you're watching it again. But I'm CPS Punisher. I'm out of here.